Hi, Kat Chancellor, Stamp Art Connection, stampartconnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I wanted to demonstrate how I put this card together featuring the Bag of Bones stamps and bundle, which is part of the new mini catalog that just went live last week. This is a really cute card. I loved putting it together. I can't wait to show you how to do it. It features Stampin' Up! Products, the Bag of Bones, the dies which cut out this neat little crypt, which I have layered to look like I've got a little mummy line in there. That is stamped out using the stamp here from the Bag of Bones. I've embossed it on black basic black paper. I have a little dog, and you can see the bones are coming out of his little mummy wrapping, and they're loose. Dog is taking off with one, which I think is kind of a fun, whimsical card. It features the dies for the little black fences that are going across the back, and the neatest part about this is that all you have to do is use the designer series paper that comes with this collection to create this background. I've also done some extra things. I've added, you can kind of see the glitter of the clouds and the moon. There you go. You see that? I achieved that with some clear acrylic paint that I got at one of my craft stores. I've also, besides using a sponge dauber to kind of sponge the edges, you can see I've used some grit paste here, and this is available. It's available on Amazon. It's also available in your craft store. It's called Crypt, and it's a nice gray grit paste that I use, and it just kind of offers just kind of a nice extra little layer of spookiness. Now the little background, I'm also going to pull in some other effects. I think I used Distress Oxide. You could use your basic black, but I like the Distress Oxide because when you add a little bit of water to it, it kind of gives it kind of a neat effect there in the background. So I'm going to be using that in addition to my other products. That's pretty much it. Now I'm going to pull out my little skeleton, and I already have him up on a block because we're going to use our Versamark, and we're going to emboss with white embossing powder, and then we're going to cut him out. And I've already cut out my two little crypt pieces, one of which we're going to have to cut out the inside to create that 3D effect. And then I think I've cut 3 fences. I just need the fences that go across the DSP. I want to talk about this designer series paper. This is a brand new pack, and I'm going to open it because I've already done several projects that you've seen on my channel featuring this bundle as well as the Tricks and Treats bundle, and I just love this paper. And this paper is has a lot of uses. I've talked about in one of my videos about how you have a couple of sheets here that you can go ahead and cut and come up with a number of backgrounds. Here is one here that I've done, and I've used some glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. That's how come they came out a little bit light. Probably to do this again, I would use the glow-in-the-dark paper stamped with either the StazOn ink, or I would stamp it and emboss with black embossing powder because it does do nicely on that. So here's just an example of how you can use this designer series paper to quickly come up with some cards. And I've used our 2-ink stamping technique there. And additionally, I have several cards because this paper also includes this sheet. There's 2 sheets of this, and what you can do is you can get, as you measure across this, you can get 1, 2, 3, at least 3 cards fronts, and I'm going to show you kind of what I did with one whole sheet here. So I've got this card, I got this card, I got this card, and then I did this card and this card. Oh, I use this card for this project that I featured last week. So just that one sheet, you get 2 sheets, but you can come up with 6 projects with that wonderful DSP, which is fantastic because it just makes your card making that much more easier. All you have to do is stamp your skeletons, and there's so many options in this particular bundle for how you want your skeletons to look like. You know, such as here, I have him with a top hat and fancy tails and his little stick, and I've done this with some black glimmer paper that I had in my stash. So this is where I say run, get an order in, because this is really cool paper. Here I really like this fence motif, and here I went ahead and I cut it out with that glow in the dark paper. So it just really offers some really neat options for creating cards with this designer series paper pack. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put these aside, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull out this one sheet here, and I'm going to cut. This is the sheet that we're going to use, and let me go ahead and cut this. Okay, so this is going to be our background for our project. Now we're going to put this on a piece of basic black, and we're going to layer it with a piece of basic white cardstock. So the dimensions for this is going to be 10 by 6, and we're going to score along the 5, and then this basic white is 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to have to cut our DSP down to 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So I'm just going to bring in my trimmer, and we're going to score this at 5, and I'm going to get my scoring tool right there. Okay, so now that is scored. Now we're going to see how that fits. That fits perfectly right there. And we're going to cut this down to 5 1/2. We're going to cut that down to 5 1/2. Now I kind of like this side. I'm going to turn it around because there's kind of less going on in this side. So we're going to cut that right there. There you go. And that's going to go nicely. I think I could probably trim a little bit more off this bottom. Let's see, this one should be 5 3/4. There's 5 3/4 right there. So yeah, just had a little bit of trimming there on the bottom to kind of get that one right there. And then we've got this. Okay, so now we have our base card and our background cut. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this glitter paint, just a clear glitter paint, and I have a brush here. Let me move in a little bit and just turn on some light. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of grab some of this, and I'm just going to very lightly just kind of spread some of this along these clouds. And that's going to dry. It doesn't dry heavy, and I should bring in my silicone map to protect my work surface. Okay, so I've put this in water, because if anybody that has worked with acrylic knows that if you let this dry, it will dry hard and it will ruin your brush. So you really need to rinse that out right away. Okay, now I'm just going to bring in my my heat tool, and I'm going to put this on the lowest setting because I just want to set this. Now you could just put it aside and let it dry on its own, but since we're making a card, I just want to make sure that I kind of set it so now it's nice and set. So we're going to go ahead and take this and we're going to put this on our card, on our basic white layer. This way, now that it's dry, it can adhere and there'll be no buckling, absolutely no buckling on our cardstock. It's going to go directly onto our base layer here. Okay, so now that's ready for putting on our Crypt. Now, next thing I want to do, I'm going to do some stamping and some die cutting. Now I have my little dog here, and my little dog is stamped with StazOn ink on the glow in the dark paper. I'm going to put him over here. I also have some little bones here that I'm going to add to my project. So I have those already cut out. But now we're going to grab some black cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Stampin' Pearson mat, and I'm going to bring in my little tray here for my embossing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to emboss this with my embossing buddy. I'm going to bring out my Versamark, and I'm actually going to stamp 2 of these. So that's really a cool feature, is that this actually layers and can cut out our Crypt. I think that's kind of cool. I didn't check that out before. So then we have 2 Little extra tombstones we can put aside. Okay, so now I'm going to grab these backgrounds here, grab some distress oxide. Okay, so then we're going to grab this. We're going to grab our basic gray. Okay, then I'm going to switch over to smoky slate. And all I'm trying to do, I'm just kind of trying to pull in some of the detail. So now I'm going to grab some of this grit paste. Okay, so there's our little crypts. And now we're going to take our little guys, and I'm going to grab some mummy cloth. You will need a piece of mummy cloth cut at 3 3/4 inches and colored using your smoky slate alcohol ink stamping blend markers, both the light and the dark. Okay, so we have our 2 pieces of mummy cloth. Now we're going to take this and we're going to cut this in half. Okay, then we're going to take and we're going to start, see, I'm going to grab a glue dot. Okay, so I got a glue dot right there. I'm going to take it and I'm going to kind of twist it as I go around. Hopefully you can see that. I'm kind of twisting it. Then I'm going to grab the other piece, and if I want to fray it, I can fray it. Just put a glue dot right there. Okay, so I got that. I'm going to take the rest of this. We're going to put another glue dot right there. I'm just going to grab this. And then I'm just going to kind of fold it up there. And I can use a glue dot. And there's my little mummy. So let's do it for this one. Just grab a glue dot or put it right at the top of his head, and then we're going to twist. Bring it around. See, and he's going to fit perfectly right in there like that. And this one's going to fit perfectly right in there like that. And it's just a matter, you can kind of pull that down a little bit so he fits. I don't have one there. So I'm going to put one right there. Okay, so there are our guys in our crypts. It's delicate now, you don't want to mess with them too much, but there we go. So now let's pull out our backgrounds. So now we're going to figure out, we're going to put these right about there, but we want to take our fences. Put our fences here and a fence there. And we got a little bit of a gap, so that's 2 fences plus 1 is 5. So we're going to cut one of these fences in half. And I'm just going to grab my glue. Okay, so this one I have popped up another layer, so we're going to go ahead and pop. Now if this is getting a little loose, I always grab just a tad bit of glue and just kind of glue it down a little bit. Okay, so I have these 2 little dogs. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut this little mouth right here. I'm going to take one of these bones . And then right here, I'm just going to add just a little touch of glue. Okay. Then we're going to bring these in. I'm going to put a dot here. Okay, so there you have it. Just a few steps, you can create this beautiful Crypt Keeper card. I think I'm going to call it my Crypt Keeper card using the Bag of Bones bundle from the new mini catalog. Now, from my original one, I didn't change it up much, except the changes that I made is that I added a little bat there to kind of give that a little bit more dimension. I used the dies from the Bag of Bones, and what was nice about this is that I discovered that these dies layer together so that you basically create another tombstone. And if you can, you can go ahead and you can cut out the middle of your crypt and lay your little spooky skeleton in there. I used some sponging using my smoky slate and basic gray, but I also used some of this distressed black oxide. It's called black soot, and you can tell that it kind of creates a little bit of interesting background. You can kind of see the little spots in there for our crypt. I also used the distressed grit paste, which is aptly named Crypt, to kind of do some interesting, adding some interesting texture around our little Crypt Keeper there, which I think was really nice. My bones and my dog are cut out of the glow-in-the-dark specialty paper. I stamped with Stays-On ink, and if I had any little pieces that I was missing, I just use a permanent marker to kind of fill in any of, just kind of darken that a little bit. So this would be nice. I did use basic black cardstock, and I stamped with just simply the white embossing powder. I don't know if that adds anything or not. I think I'm going to try. I'm going to try just adding. Oh, I think that's. So that's an idea. I just added some little googly eyes. But I do kind of like it just like that. You could probably use gauze, but this is called mummy cloth. And I kind of showed you how I used the mummy cloth and some alcohol inks. These are in Smoky Slate. Use some alcohol inks to kind of color them a little bit, so it kind of has that kind of old antique-y look to it. So, and lastly, of course, I use some of this glitter paint to kind of give a little bit of extra glitter to our piece. For the inside, I use some of that designer series paper. I cut it with our deckled triangles that we have, and then just simply stamped it with Happy Halloween there on the inside. You can see the difference here with the googly eyes and then just with the plain. But I really this was really a fun card to put together. I hope I made it easy, but you can add or subtract any of the steps to create these wonderful cards. If you haven't already, please hit like. All my products are available on my online store. There'll be a link below. Go to my blog for the project details. And if you're looking for a demonstrator, please consider joining my team. Consider joining as a hobbyist to enjoy a 20% discount. If you are a demonstrator and like my content, please support my channel by hitting like, share, and leave a comment. This is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. Happy stamping.